This is Radio Bath.
Welcome back to Brave Business Conversations with Cynthia, and we've got Sir Julian Young on the phone with us. We were talking about youth leadership, leading lots of people and having great responsibilities at a young age. The late Duke of Edinburgh obviously was a big proponent of helping young people get ready for how real life was like through the Duke of Edinburgh Award. Now, all your kids have gone through that award, haven't they?
Yes, all three. I think they may be listening, so if I may, I'll mention their names: James, Samuel, and Alice. They'll be embarrassed by that.
As a good father, you have done your job.
Absolutely. But they've all done bronze, silver, and gold awards.
Amazing.
And it's an amazing scheme, really. And indeed, I think all of us have learned much more about it in the last few days. But I read yesterday in the newspapers that over 8 million youngsters across the world have in fact undertaken the awards and got awards. It's an incredible legacy that His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh has left behind him.
Absolutely. I volunteer at the Holborn Museum when it comes back to opening times again. And we've got a few of our volunteers actually doing it for the Duke of Edinburgh Award. So it's really nice to see them. And they're fabulous people. They've just got the commitment and the mindset. What was now, of course, with your knighthood and with the various other honors that you've had over the years, you've had personal experience meeting the late Duke of Edinburgh. What was he like?
I met him 3 times, though 2 times being introduced to him and very, very brief. The third time was a great privilege, actually, of sitting next to him at a dinner. It was at the Royal Academy of Engineering, where he was the senior fellow, which meant that he used to come along to the new fellows dinner. And I was a new fellow, just been appointed in 2016, and I had the great privilege of sitting next to him for dinner. And indeed, I guess we all had a view of Prince Philip fueled by the recent past and newspaper stories. And so I was a little wary about how the evening was going to go, I'll be honest. But I did a little bit of homework and read about him and thought that I could just about hold my own. As it was, I found him warm and absolutely great company on the evening. He asked really good questions. He was very interested to hear about the engineering activity in the Royal Air Force. He listened to the answers that you gave and in return told some amazing stories. So I will always remember that particular evening. And in fact, I think like many people, we knew what a bit of a caricature in many respects that we have perhaps gained in the last 10 years or so. But actually, when over the news, what's been in the radio, what's been on TV, what's been in the newspapers, I think we've all learned over the last few days so much more about his rich life and extraordinary contribution to our country.
What amazes me about him is that, in the days where everybody says, you got to follow your passion, happiness and fulfillment is about doing what you like. He's had a very unique job in his life, is to be the consort to the Queen and to, in many ways, give up a lot of himself in doing that. And he did it extremely well. And to me, he reminds me of what my parents taught me. It's about having a sense of duty, not just passion. I want to ask you, though, in your experience, where's the balance between doing your passion and fulfilling your duty? How do you balance that?
Well, gosh, the work-life balance, I guess, in very simple terms, is a very difficult thing to balance. And indeed, I mentioned my children maybe listening. The reality is they'll think back, I'm sure, and say, Dad, you weren't always there. I'd like to think that I was there at the most important moments, but anybody, I think, who is successful in a long-term career has got this real issues to try and balance, as it were. The public service, the military, I think that there is an added selflessness. I've been on operations. I was in the first Gulf War. The reality was, when we went, we weren't really sure how it was going to go. We weren't really sure we were coming back, but there was no doubt in our mind that we were going to go off and do what it was that we had practiced for and trained for. And clearly there have been many, many examples of the armed forces being involved in conflicts around the world since then, which was 1991. So there's a selflessness to it, certainly. But also, I think the acceptance of one's own family that you are doing what not only what you want to do, but what is hopefully being seen to be believed as a worthwhile task for the greater good of the country. And that, I think, is what sustains one, is knowing that what you are doing is important. And that can help the balance. Plus also, people always say you can sleep, when you finish work. Don't sleep much, do as much as you can, be there for the most important parts of one's family life, and hopefully you can get the balance right and enjoy it all, and still have it all when you get to the end, and I'm lucky that I have.
Well, because we live on the same street, I know that you've got a wonderful family. How did you meet, if I don't mind me asking, because your family is very supportive. Helen, your wife, is very, very supportive. She's absolutely lovely. How did you guys meet, and what was the whole family? Of course, you have to give up a lot of things as you get stationed and you moved around. What was it like?
Well, the bit about how we met, it was quite interesting. I was at a 21st birthday party with one of my university friends, and it was an all-male do, and everybody there, I think, was just intent on drinking beer, and all of a sudden, some young women arrived, and I was sat next to, there was a chap from Malawi, one of a good friend of mine when we were at university, Francis Nkomo, who was a bit older than all of us, and in fact had already got a family and 4 children. And I turned to him and said, "Francis, which one do you reckon?" And he turned to me and he said, "Julian, my friend, I think the one pink for you." And Helen was dressed in pink. And so I went to ask her to dance, and the rest, they say, is history. But I guess when you do marry into the service, there is an expectation that one is going to move. I'd say perhaps, I can't remember, I've lost track of how many houses we've lived in, probably 15 or 16 houses over that time that we lived in. And indeed, it has been a great sacrifice in many respects for Helen to keep sort of giving up jobs and then taking up jobs wherever she's going. Thank goodness she's a nurse and has been able always to find very fruitful employment wherever she's gone. But I'm always very mindful of the fact that she has had to give up a lot. Our children, we didn't ever plan for them to go to boarding school, but from their teenage years, they all went to boarding school. And that, of course, allowed them the educational stability that they would not otherwise have had if indeed they'd been following the flag, as it were.
That's true.
So that was a difficult thing to give up, to be with them every day. But luckily it worked out well. They enjoyed it and come out with some good qualifications and are doing everything that they want to do now. So
very